Well, hello, Dixie Belle Paint fans. How are you today? It is Melissa coming to you live from the dining room, aka studio, where we sit together every Wednesday and create something fabulous, play with our paint. So welcome. If you're new joining me for the first time, I would love it if you dropped in the comments below. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you are back to hang out with me again, welcome back, welcome back. So what do we got here? We've got little wood projects. Luna, my puppy dog's coming in here. You can't see her. She's too far down on the ground, but ignore her little puppy dog noises on the floor. We have a new project here today, and I thought we could attempt to almost complete this together, depending on how fast I get the paint dry, because I do have my heat gun over here. This is a little wood box that I picked up at my local thrift store. Super cute. Somebody painted this. Actually, I know who painted it. Look. Nathan. Thank you, Nathan, for painting and staining and probably making this cute little wood box in your shop class. It's adorable, but I'm going to move away from the handyman theme of screwdrivers and hammers. We're gonna make this steampunk fabulous today. So let's do it. Let's get in here and start to play with some paint. If you don't know me, I am a Dixie Belle brand ambassador, and I'm the owner and artist here at the Top Drawer RVA. I did link my pages in the blurb above or below where we are watching this video right now. So you can come follow me over here on Facebook and or YouTube, where I have a ton of helpful videos to get your creative mojo flowing. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna do a little ombre paint. Now, I don't think I'm gonna paint the interior. I think what I'm gonna do is stick to the edges. And then we're going to apply transfer and stencils today. We're gonna try and get paint, transfers, and stencils all done in this tiny little box really fast, lickety split. So let's bring you nice and close and get started. All right, let's do it. As always, if I do not see your question as I'm moving along the video, you can always drop it in the comments below, and I'm happy to answer it afterwards. I do come back in and watch and make sure that I've answered every question after, or you're always welcome to send me a message at the Top Drawer RVA across all social media. So what colors did I pick today? Well, I went a little organic, a little brown, but very steampunk. We've got pine cone and sandbar here on my little desk, okay? And we're gonna do a quick little ombre blend together, and hopefully I can get it dry enough to show you some stencils and transfers with my heat gun. All right, so how do you create an ombre blend, and what is an ombre blend? It's super easy. I promise you can do it. You wanna see my handy dandy trick? It's this. This is my special brush for ombre blending. This is called your best dang brush. I see Michelle watching. Bonsoir, how are you today? This little brush right here is going to make the difference when you are doing ombre blending, because it's going to make your job very easy. What this brush does is, after you apply your two colors, you come in and rub it together. It just gives you a really pretty cloudy blend. And this brush, you can tell, gets a lot of loved. She is well used and well loved. But this brush is called your best dang brush on the Dixie Belle Paint page if you want to check it out. I also use this brush for waxing. I have one that is specifically for wax because I like this nice big flat surface when I'm waxing a project. All right, my second handy dandy tip of the day is to keep a separate brush for each color. It doesn't matter what kind of brush you use to get your paint onto the piece. For this style of project, it's just helpful to keep a separate brush so you don't mix your light and your dark too quickly. All right, let's jump in. Everybody can see this tiny little wood box that's been cleaned. You can see Nathan's name right up here. Goodbye, Nathan. We're going to paint over top of you. So I'm going to come in with pine cone. Pine cone is a really pretty, kind of an earthy brown. I'm gonna actually take it around the entire edge of this project. I'm not gonna paint the interior wood section. I think that the wood will actually add a really pretty little vibe to this piece. So I'm going to get this pine cone around the exterior lip of my project. The paint that I'm using today is all Dixie Belle paint. You can find Dixie Belle paint at your local retailer around the world. Also online at www.dixiebellepaint.com. Everything you see me use today is 0 VOCs. That means it's healthy and easy and simple to use inside your pets, inside around your children. I paint inside in my dining room, which is now my studio, so that I can know confidently that my paint is safe and sound. It's not going to give me a headache. It's not going to make anybody sick, because it is a water-based 0 VOC chalk mineral paint base. All right, so this color pine cone is going to come in around the edge. I'm going to see if I can't get this first coat down and then hit it with the heat gun to get it dry, and then we're gonna blend on the second coat. Let's cover up this entire, what is this called? That's a screwdriver, right? Let's actually just paint the whole thing pine cone to begin with and get it dry. Once I get it dry, we're gonna move into the second step, which is the ombre blending. Does anybody have any questions about chalk mineral paint at all while you have me here on the live? I'm happy to answer them. If you ask me how many colors, Melissa, how many colors are there of chalk mineral paint? How many colors does Dixie Belle make? Too many, so many colors. I think that there's like over 70 chalk mineral paint colors. We also have a line called Silk. Silk paint is a all-in-one mineral paint that contains a built-in primer as well as a built-in top coat. And we also have Terra. Terra is clay paint, which is really cool to use. I use it a lot to create texture on my pieces. Terra clay paint is available in 18 beautiful colors. Silk all-in-one mineral paint, they keep adding to the line. I can't tell you exactly how many there is, but there is a lot. And when you use Silk all-in-one mineral paint, you have the ability to just paint, be done, and walk away. You don't need to top coat your project. Today's project will be top coated in wax. I'll probably come in after I'm finished and add a bunch of different waxes to my project to seal it up, and also probably make it a little bit more aged with some brown or black wax. Okay, so now we have one even coat of pine cone on here. You can see a pine cone is like kind of a nice earthy brown. I'm going to get a little bit noisy, I apologize, but we're going to dry this as well as I can. Hopefully we're going to be able to cover that hammer. If you're worried about anything bleeding through on your piece, you can always try to use Boss. Bonding Boss is a great primer for anything to hide this little marker, but we're going to work with what we got because we are on a time budget, a time crunch. So let's just try and get this dry. Give me a minute to try and get it as dry as possible so we can blend on the second coat. While I'm looking over here, does anybody have any questions that I can answer? You're more than welcome to drop them in the comments below. I can really see that marker bleeding through. We might have to reassess in a minute here. Okay, let's add a second coat really quick while I have you here to try and cover this marker that is bleeding through, because I do not want to see these beautiful little tools. Or Nathan's name. Where's his name up at the top? We had it up here, didn't we? We'll just make sure. So let's keep drying this really fast, and we're going to move into our ombre blend, okay? Hold tight. Let's see. Jean says she likes to blend pine cone and terracotta. Ooh, that would be a great blend. I also really like pine cone and caviar. Pine cone and caviar is an amazing blend together as well. So I'm just trying to speed up the process. Obviously, if I was doing this on my own, I would just be letting it get dry. So Denise is asking about brush strokes. Brush strokes are something that people struggle with, but I do have some tips for you, Denise, if it's helpful. One is that on your second coat, you use a spray misting bottle filled with water. When you're using a spray misting bottle in conjunction with your paint, you're able to get a more smoother blend. It's not going to be as chunky. It's going to be a little bit smoother. As well as when I use my Best Dang brush, I spray this with water as well. If you're worried about brush strokes, using a smooth synthetic brush is always helpful. A brush like this is always a little bit smoother to use than a natural fiber brush. You're going to get a smoother look with something like this. It's just easier to keep up a more smooth motion. You could also look into the silk paint line. Using silk all-in-one mineral paint is a great way to combat those brush strokes, because silk paint is actually self-leveling. Did you know that? It's really self-leveling. So it's really a great way to get your paint on and know that your brush strokes are probably going to just disappear because of that silk paint's ability to just melt. It just really, really provides you with a gorgeous finish. Silk paint tends to really glow. It has the equivalent to a built-in top coat of 1 coat of satin, Dixie Belle's chalk mineral paint, and I really like that look. It's just so glowy. All right, so now we're kind of coming on our second coat of paint here. All right, we've got our pine cone laid out, and you can see right in the middle that I didn't paint this center spot. I'm going to try taking my second brush, which is going to be used specifically for Sandbar, which is a lighter color, and we're going to put this paint right here in the middle of my project. Now, when you talk about blending, a lot of people will go back and forth in separate brushes and really manipulate this paint to get an ombre blend. The way that I do it is kind of like the simple way, the easy way. Okay, I have a brush, add my spray misting bottle filled with water, and I have a rag on my lap. What I'm going to do is spray my brush. By spraying my brush, I'm going to get it nice and damp because this is synthetic and natural fiber in here, and it's going to hold a lot of product. The rag on my lap is for after I do some blending. You're going to see me wiping it off. So it's just a way of getting the excess amount of paint that's on my brush off. All right, I'm going to push my little paint brushes out of the way so I don't knock anything over. So my brush is being dampened. This is pine cone and this is Sandbar. I'm going to just simply rub the two together. If you feel your paintbrush is dragging a little bit, you need to add a little bit more water. Keep that handy. And let's just ombre blend these two colors together. Ombre is just a fancy word of saying blended color. Two colors or three colors or even more sometimes blended together to make like a cloudy blend. What's this going to do? Well, this is just going to make it like smoky a little bit. It's going to be a really great base for any transfers or stencils that I put on here. It just adds a little bit more depth and dimension. If you find that as you're working, your brush is shedding a little bit because these natural fiber brushes shed always, it's okay to wait until after to pick off the extra hairs, or you can simply remove them when they're wet. So that's the look I was going for. See that beautiful little cloudy blend? How fast was that? Super fast, right? Can you see now how it went from like a plain one kind of dimensional color to this gorgeous ombre blend? Cute. It's almost like a little beacon of light. It's just sitting there in the middle. Let's do the other side now. So I'm going to come in and add my second coat of pine. Oh, I almost put my pine cone brush in the wrong container. My second coat of pine cone. It's just going to go down here. And then my Sandbar is going to go in the middle. It's okay right now if my brushes get a little bit contaminated because this is like a little smoky blend. So I'm going to wipe my brush off because you're going to see this hold a lot of pigment inside of it. And I'm going to spray it with water. All right. And we're going to do the same process to this side that we did to the other. Small circular motions. You're going to see me hold my brush up closer to the bristles. When I'm back here, it's hard to control the power that you've got on the brush. But if you hold it down closer to the bristles, you're able to really get in there and feel how that paint moves and really feel if you need to add a little bit more water. I feel like my brush is dragging a little bit, so I'm going to spray it again. Another answer to your question, if you're wondering about brush strokes, somebody was just asking a few minutes ago, is to sand lightly in between coats, and it will eliminate any of those brush strokes as well. But to be honest, when I do this little cloudy ombre blend, I like a little bit of brush strokes. It just gives it some texture. See that little cloudy blend? Now we have a little highlight on both sides. Super sweet, right? Let's do the same to the front here. I'm going to come in with my pine cone. And I'm kind of just creating like a little bit of a box, right? A little bit of a highlight box around the sides. And then I'm going to be putting this into the middle. Let's see if I can do this holding the box up so that you guys can get the best view. Let's see if I can get a good enough grip. I push pretty hard when I do the blending, so it's a little hard for me to hold it too close. So let's see. So I'm only blending, yes, Denise, with this brush. This is my blending brush. If I came in here with paint on this brush, this paint holds a lot of product. So by just kind of using it as the blending brush, you can see here, let's spray this a little bit, keep it damp. By using it as my tool to blend, I'm able to just rub these colors together to create that really pretty shadowy finish. Again, kind of hard to do holding it up for the camera, but not impossible. So now I can wipe it off on my lap. I've got that rag down there. Now I've got this gorgeous little highlight, right? Like this kind of little, it's like a little bit of a glow. See how that glows? It just doesn't look so one-dimensional. It gives it some some oomph to it. I can kind of see that marker peeking through, but don't worry. My plan is to cover this little tiny box in the Steampunk Transfer as well as some stencils. We're going to get it dry really fast, and then we're going to come in and do that next together. I'm trying to work quick enough so that I can show y'all all of the things in one video. It's like super hard to try and do everything in one video, but not impossible. We can do it. All right, so same thing, my dampened Best Dang brush, holding it close to the bristles and really just rubbing these two colors together. Small circular motions are enough to blend the paint to give you that cloudy, smoky look. See that? Isn't that perfect? It's just like the perfect amount of cloud, the perfect amount of like a little bit of smoke on a box, right? Cute. All right, now I'm going to move aside my brushes and we're going to dry this as much as I can because we're going to open up a transfer and stencils. Do you remember this silkscreen stencil? This is a silkscreen stencil under Bells and Whistles. There is 3 sheets inside, and these image sheets are on a screen, so you're able to very easily push the paint through the screen and onto your projects. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for watching. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Let's turn this little box around. Look, I can still see that screwdriver, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up. We can really have a lot of fun in this quick little video. And if you need longer tutorials in any of these projects, you can always check out my YouTube page. I did link that as well. The YouTube page is going to show you some back to basics, which are amazing for new painters. And it's also going to show you all the newest projects that I'm working on. So ideally, I should have primed this box with Boss, but I did not, so we're going to work with what we got. If you primed with Boss, what's going to happen is you're able to really block those stains from coming through your paint. Okay, hopefully that'll be dry enough. While that sits there and gets dry, let's open this up and show you what's inside this silkscreen stencil. So I haven't used this one in a long time and I've kind of forgotten about it. I used to use it a lot. I used to use this stencil quite a bit. Steampunk for me, Steampunk and Alice in Wonderland are 2 looks that I sell a lot of. When I say steampunk, I'm talking about the Steampunk Transfer as well as the Bells and Whistles silkscreen stencil. So they have a Steampunk Transfer, and we also have one that has Alice in Wonderland inspired pieces. And I use both of them, and I sell the pants. Sell the pants off of that Steampunk and Alice. People love it. They love it. So what's inside a silkscreen stencil? Let me show you. So I'm going to be using a tool today to push the paint through my stencil that's called a thingamajig. Have you seen this little guy before? It's a silicone tool that you're going to use to push the paint through the silkscreen and onto your piece. But if you didn't have this, the inside of the package has this small little card. And what this card does is pushes the paint through the stencil as well. Now, what do I mean when I talk about pushing paint through a stencil? Well, let me show you. So first of all, you've got these beautiful images. There's 3 gorgeous images in here. I forgot actually how much I like them. I really like them. Ideally, you should be doing this on very dry paint. So don't do as I'm doing today, because this paint is going to take a little while to get dry. But these stencils, when you peel them off the white backing, have the ability to be sticky on the backside. And when they're sticky on the backside, what happens is you don't get any bleed through on your stencils. So that means when you're pushing the paint through the stencils in order to get that design project onto your item that you're working on, what happens is you have 0 bleed through. When you know stencils, you know that sometimes bleed through can be a thing. So let's look at our stencils today. I love that clock. I love the gears. I love the key. Let's use the clock. And FYI, these little stencils, if you use them, take them to your sink and wash them immediately with your scrubby soap, you are able to reuse them many times. So you see on this one, you have like these little hands. You could actually set this up to do like a time. I'm just going to use this big gear. I'm really not going to worry about these smaller ones today. So you can see me when I peel it off. See how this backside is sticky? When you wash it, lay it down with the sticky side up. That way the sticky side will stay sticky. How many times can I say sticky? That means the sticky side will stay sticky. And the piece can be stuck back onto these sheets. Keep your sheet as well, because you just stick it right back onto here after it's clean and reuse it again and again. All right, let's see how far we can get on our project today. Let's give it one more quick heat blast, okay? Because there's a couple small sections that are not all the way dry. And I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that this doesn't pull my paint off, because I'm literally doing this project just for you, just for you. And if your paint's not dry, what will happen is you'll stick this down and you're going to actually have trouble with getting your paint pulled off. So let's move my little wheels. FYI, people are always asking, where do you get these wheels from? Harbor Freight. You can find them at Harbor Freight or any hardware store. Let's see if I can do this. If I put it this way and bring you in really close, you're not going to be able to see. So I'm going to do it this way. So my plan is to stick this on. It just can sit right down. I don't want the whole thing covered. I just want partial. So you can see where the screen is. That's where this product will be pushed through. And what am I going to use today to stick through my stencil? Well, today's project is going to be Moonshine Metallics. When I do stencils, Moonshine Metallics seem to be the good thing to use because it's a little bit of a thinner paint. The metallics are not as viscous as the chalk mineral paint, so that means when you use it to push through your stencil, you're able to really get a clear image, okay? So how do you use a silkscreen stencil? Well, I've put it down onto my piece, so anywhere where the purple is stuck down onto my project, okay? I'm gonna take my tool and just use what's on the lid of my paint. So I'm gonna take my thin little thingamajig tool, my silicone tool, and I'm gonna push the paint through the screen. Now remember, if you don't wash your silkscreen stencil fairly quickly after you do this, it will harden up and it will be more difficult to remove. So I do suggest that if you have a time constraint, like you can't get to it right away, you would drop your silkscreen stencil into a shallow bucket of water. What that will do is allow your silkscreen stencil to stay moist while you are waiting to wash it. It's not the best way to do it, but it's better than nothing, because you can reuse these up to 10 times, which are great economical ways to do arts and crafts. Okay, so this little thingamajig just allows me to push hard. It just allows me to push this paint through the stencil and onto your project. I don't want any big globs of paint, so I make sure to run it by afterwards. And that way I'm not going to lose the edges. Fingers crossed I'm not going to pull off the paint. Well, I am going to pull off some of the paint, but that's okay, we'll work with it. So now that my stencil is being removed, I have left my cutie little gear. Let's put one on the other side to match. All right, I'm going to blast this with the heat gun just so I can get it nice and dry. We're going to distress the edges, and I'm going to go with the fact that it's pulling up some of my paint, because in a normal situation you would be waiting for this to be completely dry before you would apply your stencil, and you wouldn't have that problem. But because I am trying to be fast, show you all the things, it's gonna happen. All right, bring you nice and close. So I'm gonna just reuse the same spot. Let's go up on the top part this time. Let's do this way. So I'm just gonna give it a quick smooth with my finger, and I'm going to take my thingamajig and my gold digger Moonshine Metallics and push that paint through the stencil to create a pretty little base for when we're going to apply our transfers over top. And again, transfers can be applied over dry paint. Don't do a rush job on your project like I'm doing today to show you how. You can wait for your paint to dry 100% and you will have a beautiful, beautiful project. All right, so now we're going to peel off our silkscreen, and you've got your image behind. Super cute, right? So you can already start to feel the little steampunk vibe start to happen. You can see a little bit of a gold digger down here. That's okay, we're gonna be adding transfer on the top. Let's do one more thing on this side, shall we? Should we use the clock or should we cut another piece? Let's just keep using the clock. I just wanna kind of like put the clock where this tool was painted onto my project, because we're gonna add layers to cover up that section. So again, just dipping, I haven't washed my stencil, I'm just dipping my thingamajig into my metallics. Like I said, I do find that for silk screens, metallics work the best because they are a bit of a thinner vibe of a paint. They're not as thick as some of the chalk mineral paint. I do not suggest using gilding wax to push through your stencils. It tends to really clog up the screen and it's really hard to get off. You can, I'm not saying you can't, but it does make it a bit of a harder job. Look at that. Look at that. So cute. Let's do the other side. You can still see the image, the outline, a little bit of that wrench. So by going over top of it, we're just going to hide it. We're going to hide it a little bit. Again, pushing that beautiful metallic through my stencil. You can get some seriously cute designs when you layer transfers and stencils. It is one of my most favorite things to do. Okay, so now you take this to your sink, you would wash it with your scrubby soap, and you're then able to reuse it many, many times, up to 10 times. I'm gonna close I'm gonna try metallics so I don't spill it. I love these little 4-ounce sizes for metallics because I don't use a ton of them at one time. So this just helps me keep a nice, clean jar, because we all know I don't like to shut lids very well. Speaking of lids, let's put the lid on this one as well. So if you're tuning in late, the colors we did on our small little piece are pine cone and sandbar blended together with my ombre blend with my best dang brush. We added a little bit of your stencil onto the piece. And now we have to dry this in order to get the next step on here. So let's dry my metallics. Metallics dry pretty quick too. Any questions about the silkscreen stencils? While I have you here, I can see my screen. I actually kind of like the little bit of distressing that you're seeing, because I am going to sand all of my edges when I am done this piece to give it a distressed look. Okay, so we're going to let that sit. Now let's talk about what we're going to do for the next step. I'm all about layering. So inside every package of transfer, it's going to show you on the back how many sheets are in. This is a big one. There's 6 sheets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not sure if this transfer has all the pieces in it because I just pulled it out of my storage closet. Sometimes I use half and then I put it back, but there's definitely going to be enough pieces in here to layer on front of my piece. So when you look at this transfer, you can see all the beautiful little steampunk elements. And believe me when I say that I sell the most of steampunk and Alice in Wonderland. It's crazy how well it sells for me. People love a steampunk vibe. So I've got a pair of scissors. I'm going to open this up and show you what's inside. This actually might be a whole entire piece that I've never used. You've got your instruction sheet showing you how to use a transfer if you've never used it before, but you're always welcome to check out my YouTube for that, as well as all of the image sheets that are inside. So you can see our little steampunk dude there. We've got goggles, we've got bugs, we've got a funky bicycle. This is like a masculine transfer. There's always something that you can find to do. I love all the gears. Some of these guys might be too big for this tiny little project. And we've got a full 2 pages of pipes. Now, little handy dandy tip of the day, if you're doing a table, these little pipes can cover like an entire surface, and then you can layer more transfer on top. They're a really fun little base because of their color. They're a little bit less prevalent in kind of color as some of the other parts. Let's see, I'm gonna have to put this on my lap because I'm gonna run out of space. Let's see what transfer is gonna fit on top of our little gears. I like that bike, so I'm gonna cut him out. He's pretty cute. We'll put him down on the table. I like that bicycle. Let's see what else is on this sheet. I like that little bug, the little mechanical bug in gear. So I'm just going to cut out some of the images that I think about using. I like this guy, but he might be too big actually to fit on there. Do I have a smaller? There is one image with a smaller gentleman on it. Our steampunk gentleman. There he is. So I'm just going to cut out those images. And maybe this car would be cute on the side, right? Because it's kind of like long and skinny. Let's cut out as many as we think we can get on. I know that this is not the longest live. It's a little bit short, in about an hour. Trying to get as much done as I possibly can to show you how you could design your own steampunk vibe. Just going to move this transfer over here. Now, they come with a little stick inside. This is a stick that you use to burnish your transfer down onto your projects. Let's look at what we have here. Let's see if I can aim you in even closer. Got a lot of stuff on the floor, surprise, so that we can get it done. Is this dry enough? Possibly. Let's see if we can get it done. So I like to kind of get a design plan going. So I can look at this guy and go, okay, he fits. I don't like things front and center. I don't like things to be stuck right in the middle. I like things to be a little off center. So what'll probably happen is I'll aim him so that the bottom part of his transfer kind of goes under the piece. This gives you another nice design element when you're layering. The car is going to go on the side. This gear might be too big because of that. So we could always just cut part of the gear off like this and put him down here. What do we think of that design? That's pretty cute, right? That fills up a lot of space. So I'm going to get the question of, hopefully I have a pencil in here. Yay, I do. How do you cut a transfer? Like, how do you plan your design process? Well, I can see that there's a line here. See this little line that could come up? So I could just use my scissors to gently cut that, or I could easily turn my piece around and then just cut this transfer to be designed the way I want it. So if I just draw a quick little line on the back, I've got an idea of where I can cut this transfer so it will fit onto my piece. And I would save the opposite side because you can use that tiny little bit of gear on another piece. So let's put the gear down first. Remember that in a normal situation, you would wait entirely for this paint to be dry. This is as dry as I'm going to get it for this project. So you peel off the backing and you're left with two sides of your transfer. This is the front side that you're going to see on the image, and this is the back side, which is the sticky side. Now, this is the fragile side. If I drop this and it falls on the floor and this sticks to something, I will lose the ability to use this on my project. So close your windows, turn off your fans, be gentle with this once you peel off that backing, right? Once the white backing is gone, it's very hard for you to continue to use that piece. You don't want to drop it and lose the sticky value. So I'm just going to gently line it up with the edge of my box. I like to give it a quick little smooth with my finger, and that's just going to make sure that that's going to stick onto my piece. You're then going to use the enclosed burnishing tool, and again I'm doing this balanced on a paint can and up on a table. Normally I would have more of a flat surface, so having a nice strong flat surface helps you really burnish this off. You can see how gently I'm rubbing. This is not a hard process. These transfers are quick release and simple to use. And you can see the color. Can you see how here it's white? That means it's being released from the transfer sheet versus this is still stuck onto the transfer sheet. So you work along until you have released the entire image from the sheet, and then you are able. I sometimes like to get in there with my nails around the corner just to really make sure nothing's left on here, but these are great to keep in case you're working with mirrors. Slide them up and under the mirror edge. You're going to save your paint from getting on the mirror. So now we have two design elements on one small piece. Okay, we've got our beautiful shiny Moonshine Metallics gold steampunk gear. We've got one part of the transfer. Remember, we cut a little bit of the image off and we adhered it to the top. All of a sudden your little box is starting to look super interesting, right? Let's take our steampunk dude and put him on as well. Peel off the backing. You can see how he is partially clear, so you're going to see your paint through. You've got your sticky side as well as your side that's not sticky. I don't want him to be front and center. I don't like a centered item. I like things to be a little off. So I'm going to move him to the side a bit, knowing that when I get to the bottom, you can cut this part with a knife, or you can use your scissors, or you could just gently bend it over and adhere it to the bottom of the box. Nobody's going to see. So once it's onto the bottom of the box, you're able to just move along your process and get that off the transfer sheet. So again, just using my nail to make sure that it's stuck down because I'm trying to balance, show you and complete a project all in one. It's like I'm a magician of all sorts. So just rubbing this down, it's going to allow that transfer to stick to the bottom. There. So now it's released from the bottom. It's stuck onto the bottom of the box. See it up there? We're not going to see that piece when we move. So now we've got our little steampunk man, our little dude. I'm going to give all of his edges a little bit of a burnish. And then what you can do is start to peel back that paper, watching to make sure that all of your edges have turned white. The white tells me that this has been released off of the box and onto, or off of the paper and onto the box. Again, obviously, if you were doing this at home, you would be sitting a little bit more easier. I'm kind of balancing precariously on the side of a paint can to show you the best of the best here, but that's okay. You're all learning. Yeah. I'm gonna drop my box. Take my fingernail. See, I can see one little piece where the transfer didn't go straight across, but I'm gonna show you how to fix that. Easy peasy. If I was more straight on, not balancing on a paint can, it wouldn't happen. It is what it is. You can't be a teacher and all of the things at the same time. Also trying to keep my hands out of the front of the camera so that you can see what's happening. So there we go. So now we've rubbed off this transfer. He is on the side of the box. You can see the one little part where the hat didn't touch. I'm going to show you an easy way to fix that. You could actually use a piece of gear if you wanted. You could take a piece from the edge from another hat, or you could add another design element to this piece. Let's look at what we have. I think I could probably use a gear on here. Let's look at our gears. Ooh, let's put on glasses. Let's do glasses. Let's cut out one of these. So if you make a little boo-boo and your transfer doesn't stick on straight, like if you look at his hat, because I was working sideways, I didn't have the pressure to push down. You can see that small little crack. Super simple to cover. You're just going to cut another piece. You could sand it back and paint it in, or you could leave it as it is. Nobody's even going to notice. But we're going to do this by peeling off another part of the transfer. Is going to be another design element. You're just going to see how you want to line it up. I'm going to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to burnish the goggles. It is always hard to grab the edge of a transfer when it's sitting flat on your piece. Sometimes you can keep a small knife handy and that'll help you. Again, balancing. Using my fingernail to make sure that it's all off. So now I've covered up that little boo-boo, and now I've got 3 design elements on the side of the piece. What do you think? Super cute, right? Super cute. So now what will happen is I will continue to work around the entire sides of this box. Once I finish getting all of the transfer down, if I wanted to add more stencil, I could. I do not recommend, FYI, and just a little handy tip of the day, I do not recommend putting your transfers first and then your stencils, because remember these stencils have a sticky back, right? This is a sticky back stencil. So if you put your transfer down and then put the sticky back on top of this naked transfer, you're going to peel off your transfer. You don't want to have an accident happen. So if you have the option to do your stencils first, which is usually the great layering design that you would want to do because the gold underneath the transfers is always pretty, do them first, because if you put it on top of a transfer that hasn't been sealed, you're not going to like what happens. It's going to peel up your transfer, because right now this still needs to be sealed before it's going to be 100% like usable. So if you wanted to seal your transfers, you can use wax, you can use clear coat, whatever you like. I would recommend clear coat if you're putting your stencils on top. But I will be using wax because I'm going to come in with my dark wax. I'm going to sand the edges. We're going to distress it all up and make it look super old. So cute. So cute. Do you have time for one more transfer before I let you go? But can you see how cute that element is? I mean, adorable. It's an adorable little box. Let's see what we can do over here. That's pretty dry. Where's that little car that we cut out? Didn't we cut out a car? We could do a car here, a gear here. That would be cute. Let's do one more. One more before I let you go. I don't know if my camera's gonna let me tilt you down this far. Oh my goodness. So again, transfers have 2 sides, the sticky side and the flat side. Once you peel that off, this fragile creature needs to be placed down gently onto the area that you're working on, and then we will do that. Let's see if I can turn my box this way. If I turn my box sideways, you can still see, and I'm going to be able to push a little bit harder. So let's put the car down here on the corner. Again, rub it with your finger, make sure that it's stuck on there. Where did I lost my tool. I lost my burnishing tool. If you were this transfer stick, where would you be? Did you fall on the floor? Did I fold you up? I folded you up inside the paper. There you are. You're going to take your little tool and you're going to give the edges a little bit of a rub. You're going to grab your paper and you're going to start to gently pull back. FYI, majority of these transfers that you see are from the first generation of transfers, which means they are on sale. Please check with your local retailer to see if they still have them. A lot of them are sold out online. Steampunk is one of my favorites, and Alice in Wonderland is another one that's a favorite. But using both of those transfers is always a guaranteed sell for me. That's my hot handy dandy tip of the day, is that Steampunk and Alice in Wonderland always sells fast. It just does. People love it. People love some steampunk. I think because it's a little bit more masculine than the others. So now we've got one little car on there. Let's think about what else we can add. I kind of want to add one of these little, what is this? A whirligig? Did I just make that up? Is that a real word? Whirligig? I feel like it's just a little mechanical toy, right? It's not real. Let's do kind of like a halfway whirligig. So I'm going to hold it like this. Remember we talked about making a line with your pencil so that you know where to cut. So that way you can cut your transfer. Again, obviously this would all be easier if I had everything sitting flat. So I can see my line on the back of my transfer paper. Who knows what this little dude is called? If you know what it's called, tell me. Nate says it's called that now, a whirligig. I might have just made that up. I make words up all the time, you know. I think it's the Canadian English in me. I mean, I could legitimately, like, it might not be real. I might have made that word up in my head, and I think that it's real. So let's just go with it, shall we? We will go with it. It's a whirligig. We're going to peel off that backing, and we're going to look for our place to put it. So I don't really want to put it over top of the car, but you can line up that edge with your edge of your box. I do think whirly, let's ask Alexa. Hey Alexa, what's a whirligig? You can't hear Alexa, but she just told me a whirligig is a device made of metal with a propeller on top. I totally was right. I win the prize. I cannot believe I actually knew what that word was. What do you know? Okay, Alexa, you can be quiet now. Thank you for your information. What would we do without Alexa? Remember the days of old when we had to actually like ask somebody who might really make up words like me? Or go to the library to look things up? My gosh, who has the time? Now it's like instant gratification. Alexa, tell me about the whirligig. Crazy, crazy. Nate says he's heard it before. Yeah, I read a lot, so you never know where I might have heard it before. I'm also the mother of 2 boys, so I do know a lot of random facts about dinosaurs and whirligigs, I guess. Stranger things have happened in my life. All right, so that is it, my friends. I really can't go much further than this because all it is me applying transfers all over this tiny little wood box. But once it is finished, what I will do is definitely take a picture and put it up on social media for you so that you can see what the final looked like. We did a ombre blend of pine cone and sandbar. I did a super cute little silkscreen stencil with my A Ma Jig tool, as well as my beautiful Moonshine Metallics gold peeking through. And then we came in and added some of that Steampunk Transfer.